Wait, this isn't a Sursic Day. What madness is this? Well, my little snowballs, me and some buddies decided, you know what would be fun? Taking the piss out of stupid people. And then we realised that's what we always do, but why not do it together? So, presenting the Super Atheist Friends. A collection of videos from me and 8 other creators, each with a completely unique collection of videos from those other creators. So, if you want to see all of my extremely attractive parts, penis joke, you're gonna have to go and dive into their channels. And while you're there, you might as well subscribe, give their video a like, and comment, "Hide your whiskey, Sir Sick is here." All linked in the description. Enjoy.
If I were still an atheist, this one line of evidence would convince me that God exists. Virtually every scientist in the world...
Every what? Did you almost call every scientist a c***?
...now believes the universe began at some point in the past.
That the universe is not eternal.
It's not eternal. It has not always existed.
I don't know. From my very basic search on the internet, which may or may not be trustworthy, it appears that lots of science folks do accept that the universe is eternal. But even if it wasn't, that doesn't prove a God. It just leaves the question, how did it get here?
Alexander Valinkin, the head of the Cosmology Institute at Tufts University, said the proof is now in place that the universe had a beginning. Well, that makes a strong argument for God because...
No, it doesn't. It makes a bit of an argument for the universe having a beginning, if that's what is actually being said. Some may say that the part of the universe we can see had a moment in time that it started rapidly expanding. That still doesn't prove God.
Whatever begins to exist has a cause.
Whatever begins to exist probably has an explanation for its existence, whether we know it or not. There, I fixed it.
We now know the universe began to exist. Therefore, there must be a cause behind the universe.
It took scientists all this time to find that out, but the truth was always in the scriptures. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now let's check out Romans chapter 1, verse 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen.
Wait, where the bloody hell did he come from? And why are you quoting Bible stuff at me? Mate, when it comes to the Bible...
No one cares!
Being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. So everything that's around you that's created, the heavens, you know, the mountains, the trees, everything that's around you is evidence of the power of the Heavenly Father. So we are without excuse.
But you're assuming it was created. Again. Well, not you again, but on another video on another creator's channel in the Super Atheist Friends collaboration. I definitely said something similar. Go and find it.
Okay, I have officially taken the stance of a creationist, and I do not agree with evolutionists.
Okay. Who are you?
But what I realize is that we both have the same evidence, we just have 2 different starting points, so you can't prove anything. To me, it makes the most sense to be a creationist and not have the Earth be hundreds of billions of years old. I'll get into that.
The evidence for evolution can easily be used to inductively build the same theory from scratch over and over and over again, all of which is compatible with the naturalistic starting point of abiogenesis. Now, please show me your starting point and how it comports with reality. Or is your argument simply, I don't know how evolution can do this, so evolution isn't real? Because that's literally all creationist arguments.
There's really a lot I could say, but first I'm going to start off with this. There's only one human genome, and there's only one human race, and humans can only create humans. So how do we get from a living bacteria all the way to a human now?
Oh, okay, so the argument is just ignorance. For clarification, the word human is a surprisingly tricky term, especially for this guy, because while we commonly use it to mean our species, Homo sapiens, it literally just means any member of the genus Homo. So even if we were to stick with the loose language that this guy is using to try to say that only humans can make humans, that would still imply speciation and macroevolution, which are things that this dude certainly doesn't believe in. Also, just throwing this out there, if you're gonna start the video by saying that we all have the same evidence, maybe don't immediately ignore the evidence for things like evolution from single-celled organisms to complex macrofauna like us. You could have at least addressed how this stuff works or what we know about it, but instead you just said, how does that work? As if that was the entire argument.
And they might say, oh, it's because it's, millions of years old, man. That's why over time, we just change. Okay. We've never seen a human create a dog.
Honestly, you could just end this clip right there, because that alone shows that this guy doesn't know what evolution is, or how it works, or how it could be falsified.
Only a human can create a human, and only a dog can create a dog. I've never seen any other thing before. They can only reproduce what they are. Prove me wrong. You can't.
Quick question for you, sir. Have you ever seen someone who speaks only Italian have a child who speaks only French? No. Does that mean that language doesn't evolve? No, obviously not, right? Slowly, over time, little populations of people who spoke Latin moved away from each other. Their language shifted over hundreds of generations, and just as I didn't grow up using words like skibbity and yeet, my parents didn't grow up using words like noob and lol. As time passed, certain words like woot gained traction and then phased back out of existence, while others stuck around. For example, the word cool has been used to mean nonchalant and stylish since the 1920s. If I asked somebody in the 1910s to be cool, they probably wouldn't understand why I was asking them to have a certain temperature. But if I said that to you today, or to most people for the past 100 years, you would understand it. And by that same process, some people who spoke Latin eventually had great-great-great-great-grandchildren who spoke Portuguese. There was never an Italian-speaking mother that gave birth to a French-speaking child. They share a common root language in Latin, and there isn't a single individual between those 2 points who you could point to and declare as the first official French speaker. Similarly, there was never a human who gave birth to a dog. We share a common ancestor, and you could not pick a single animal between them and declare that this is where humans officially start. That's just not how it works. I swear, if creationists could just, learn what the definition of evolution is, their arguments would be so much more fun to tackle. But as it is, it's just that all the time, and that just blows, dude.
It appears we have yet another video of someone claiming that they can demonstrate that their god exists. Let's check this one out.
Attention! This girl shocked everyone. She wanted to prove that God exists. She wrote the word God in the sand.
This appears to be yet another example of an experiment to prove the existence of a god. And apparently it's also being done in India. So props to the people of India for at least doing experiments, even if they are bad experiments. Oh, and if you were wondering how we know it's in India, it's because the word that she wrote in the sand is the Hindi word for Ram, which is a reference to Rama. And given that the girl is now looking at the water, I assume this video is supposed to demonstrate some kind of effect that the word has on the tide.
Which isn't surprising, but watch what happens. As soon as she writes it, the water stops just before erasing it.
So, just like the previous miracle video I covered, there are obviously a lot of unaccounted for variables at play here. And first and foremost is any kind of predictability to the wave patterns on the beach. While wave patterns are dictated by an enormous set of variables on a global scale, locally, if certain variables remain consistent long enough, they can be observed to follow predictable patterns. And given just how quickly she wrote that word in the sand, my guess is that she's trying to beat the flood flow. The flood flow being the incoming water as opposed to the ebb flow, which is the outgoing water, and she's also probably aware of the localized pattern in which the large flood flows are preceded by much smaller flood flows.
But when she erases the word, the water comes back to her feet immediately.
And I think now it's pretty clear, given how quickly she erased the word from the sand, while never once taking her eyes off the incoming water, that she was trying to time her action to beat the next flood flow. So while this video is certainly different from the magic word on a brick video, it's still fairly easy to debunk. But even if we couldn't debunk it entirely, we can still recognize that it requires us to make more assumptions to justify believing what we saw in the video as being true than we would have to acknowledge the logical possibility that what we just saw was completely naturalistic in nature. Because with each additional assumption you have to make in order for your position to be true, the exponentially greater the likelihood will be that your asserted outcome is incorrect.
Speaking in tongues is a very interesting thing. I've actually never personally witnessed it, but I know people who have, and it's sort of freaked them out. Even my dad, who is very religious, actually he's performed as a Christian singer before, has been sort of disturbed by people who have come up, put their hands on him as he's playing piano and singing, and started speaking in tongues. He's a religious guy, but he said it felt sort of cultish. Do they really believe that what they're doing is the word of God, or are they making up a bunch of bullshit to get people to tell them that they're holy? I don't know. You guys tell me. I have to comment that there's a lot of B's. I feel like people who speak in tongues, there's a lot of ba 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 ba. You know, I've had 2 kids now, and when they're babies, they do a lot of that too. So I kind of wonder, are my babies speaking in tongues when they're babbling? Or are they just babbling? Or are these people just babbling?
I lost my dream job. My entire friend group walks away from me. What did I do wrong? Son, do you remember praying in tongues yesterday? Yeah. This is what the Holy Spirit spoke through you. Remove the people that do not belong and put me in your perfect will, God.
I understand that this is a skit, right? But he didn't like set the camera up and then all of a sudden after he hit record have the Holy Spirit wash over him and be able to speak in tongues. It's supposed to be, from what I've learned, it's supposed to be something that just like overcomes you. You can't plan for it. It just sort of happens, and it's not something you can technically like set up a whole like skit for and stage. Make sure you've got the good lighting.
Your will be done. But yeah,
there are a lot of videos out there of people speaking in tongues. Here's another one.
Let it on floor.
So they're like coaching this guy, trying to teach him how to do it, which again, it's like, may the spirit of peer pressure be upon you. Say ra and ba 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 as many times as you can, and that means, Jesus, you've been picked, you've been chosen. To be clear, I do not believe in any supernatural anything, in any religious anything. But for the sake of argument, right, tongues was supposed to be a gift. It's not something that you're supposed to be able to, like, forcibly coach out of someone and pressure them into doing.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Oh, I'm like uncomfortable watching it. How would we speak in tongues without ra and sha and ba? I can't help but wonder, like, do these people really believe that they're speaking in tongues? Really? There've got to be a lot of them out there that are just sort of going with it because they don't want to be judged or people to look at them like they're not doing something right, because why can all these other people do it but not me? I mean, if it meant something to me being in that community, being in that church, being accepted by family and friends, hell, I might start going ra ba 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 sha 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 all day long too. Ra ba 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 sha 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 sha. I will see you later.
I bet you haven't seen this video.
Whoa, he's right. How did he do that? I haven't seen this video.
You can't tell me God's not real. And let me tell you, if you believe God is real and he shows himself in all of his creation, then I want you to subscribe or follow right now to learn more about him today.
The have you seen a flower lately defense. So the claim is that all the beauty and complexity we see in the universe, from a hummingbird's wing to the vastness of space, proves the existence of your specific deity. Saying I see God in nature is functionally identical to saying I see a psychedelic unicorn in nature. It's a statement of personal interpretation, not a verifiable, testable fact. When a scientist looks at a sunset, they see Rayleigh scattering and atmospheric optics. When you look at it, you see a divine finger painting. One of those is measurable and the other is a feeling, and you can't use a feeling as a premise for a universal truth.
Quite often I find creationists asking questions that I'm not sure why they are a question in the first place, like this one.
How could all the huge dinosaurs fit on the ark?
The reason why I'm not sure why that's a question in the first place is because there's no non-avian dinosaurs that have been alive within the last 4,000 years, let alone the last several million years. So why would dinosaurs need to be on the ark? Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to find out the answer to this. But also, out of all the hundreds of thousands of extinct animals that were found fossils for, why were only dinosaurs included on the ark? Why not Pakicetus, for example? Was Pakicetus just not important enough to be on the ark?
Well, the short answer is they weren't huge when they went on, okay? They were young ones, juveniles. And first of all, we know that all dinosaurs started from eggs, and there's a limit. Eggs could not be much bigger than a football because otherwise the embryo couldn't breathe.
Now, one way you could go about this, which is surprisingly makes a lot of sense, is that maybe they just got 2 of every egg, and that's why dinosaurs don't exist. Hear me out. You see, just by looking at an egg, I think that it's probably pretty difficult to tell what sex that egg is going to grow up to be. So maybe Noah just grabbed eggs of the same sex, and that's why the dinosaurs died out. Now, of course, that is ridiculous because eggs cannot survive without being incubated, but so is the idea of an ark having enough supplies to feed several dinosaurs and several other animals for 40 days. So yeah, pick your poison.
And the other thing is they've analyzed growth rings on dinosaur bones, and every dinosaur they've analyzed show they went through the same sort of growth pattern. It started off slowly, then it had a sort of teenage growth spurt, and then it leveled up.
So I have a friend who's pretty interested in dinosaurs who says that that is not true for larger dinosaurs at all. Larger dinosaurs tend to have a higher growth rate than that of smaller dinosaurs.
Now, God is the one who brought animals to Noah. He said the animals will come to you. He's taking care of that. So he had probably picked juvenile ones who were a year before their growth spurt. So instead of a 30-ton Apatosaurus or Diplodocid kind, it was only a 1 ton when it went on board and not much bigger when it got off.
Okay, if it wasn't that much bigger when it got off, then where was the food coming from? Because to get bigger, you need to eat food. Was it eating all the other animals? Did it eat Pakicetus and that is why Pakicetus is extinct now? I feel like at some point you just need to admit that there wouldn't have been enough space on the Ark, especially if you want to put dinosaurs on there for no apparent reason.
Classical atheists declare there is no God.
Classical atheists, so, you know, not the vast majority of modern atheists who generally say that they simply don't buy the claims that there is a God. Weird that you would feel the need to make that distinction when trying to prove that atheism as a whole is foolish.
So they must have an alternative way to explain existence without a supernatural creator.
I'm sorry, Nietzsche is one thing, but friggin' Karl Marx, while I'm sure he had some explanation for where everything came from, it's not like what he was known for. Weirder still.
And the only option for them is some form of evolution.
Existence isn't explained by evolution. What are you talking about? Evolution simply explains the diversity of life that we observe on this planet. It has no business, nor does it ever attempt to explain where the goddamn universe came from, because that's not what it's for. And if you think it is, you have no idea what the fuck evolution is.
No matter what you call it, Darwinian evolution, neo-Darwinian evolution, chaos theory, punctuated equilibrium, etc.
No matter which wrong thing you use to describe either evolution or where they all came from. Yeah, no, Darwinian evolution is the very incomplete first steps of our current understanding of evolution, so we don't use that. Neo-Darwinian evolution is an outdated term for modern synthesis, so we don't use that. Chaos theory has fucking nothing to do with evolution. What the hell are you smoking, buddy? And punctuated equilibrium is an idea within evolutionary theory that explains why evolution seems to speed up and slow down sometimes. Would you please stop using terms that you don't understand? For the love of God, doesn't exist.
It's the concept that everything came about through naturalistic processes.
No, it isn't. That's it. There's no other thing to say. You don't know what you're talking about, and you should probably stop. Unfortunately, you won't for some reason.
And that is the foolishness the psalmist speaks about. A theos, no God.
And that's the other thing. Even actually scientifically accurate explanations for the existence of all the things, you know, not evolution, aren't a requirement for someone to not believe that there is any kind of God. Like how just because I can't explain where all this whiskey came from doesn't mean I don't get to drink it.
Atheists, many claiming that they're open-minded, rational, or logical, live inside a mental paradigm called naturalism.
And many don't. What's your f***ing point?
And they don't think outside that box, so to speak.
Oh, your point is, they don't believe me stupid God claims, and that makes me sad.
So, all thinking atheists must believe in evolution. That is their main folly.
And all unthinking creationists must spout utter nonsense all the time. I would say the thinking ones do that as well, but, you know, they don't exist. Just like God.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at a street preacher that is going to try to circumvent a contradiction surrounding Judas's death.
Do you agree that the Bible is the divine revelation from God?
I do.
And that it has never been changed?
I believe it's never been changed.
How is there two accounts on Judas' death?
This is a good question because in the book of Matthew, Judas dies by hanging himself. And then in Acts 1:18, he just buys a field and then falls over like he's fucking Humpty Dumpty and cracks open like a fucking egg. Which one is true? Did he hang himself or did he fall head first into a field and crack his yolk open? Who knows?
I'm glad you're here to ask that. It's not two different things saying opposite things. It's giving a full picture of what happened.
Actually, it's not giving a full picture of what happened. In Matthew 27:5, it just says that Judas goes off and hangs himself having collected his 30 shekels. And then in Acts 1:18, it says, having collected his 30 shekels, he buys a field and then falls headfirst into the field, cracking open like Humpty Dumpty. The original Greek doesn't say Humpty Dumpty, but that's the visual that's given.
So the full story is, when you read both accounts, is that Judas hung himself and then he fell.
This is bullshit because it does not mean this. If Matthew is writing an orderly account, which is what all the other gospels are doing, then Luke also writing an orderly account, not recounting that Judas first, hung himself and then died, is a pretty big contradiction here. You would think that that would be an explanatory thing for this story if it had been historical. This is definitely a problem.
Not contradicting.
So headlock, you go like
No. Headlong doesn't just mean head first. Headlong means falling without control.
First of all, I should specify that dictionaries represent how we currently use words. At this particular time, written in the Koine Greek language, the headlong part is definitely about falling head first, not about falling recklessly or without control or something like that. That's not what the word meant in the original language. It definitely means head first. So there's no way to get around this. It's a modern notion that it means recklessly or without control or something like that. And this is probably due to, some kind of understanding of what it means to fall headlong or head first. There's a phrase of like going in head first or something like that. But I feel like this is a more modern understanding of that, more of a literary interpretation of what it means to do that, as opposed to literally falling headlong. But at this time in Acts, it definitely meant head first. The reason why him falling headlong is a contradictory thing for the whole hanging bit is that obviously when you hang yourself or whatnot, by the neck, there's no way for you to actually fall head first, right? It would be feet first because that's how fucking gravity works. So he would not be able to fall headlong from a hanging position. That's why he has to do this eisegesis to be able to harmonize both of these accounts.
I wonder what Ray Comfort's up to.
Jesus said if you look with lust, you commit adultery in your heart. Have you ever looked with lust?
Yes.
Have you had sex before marriage?
Oh, he's stopping young people on the street to ask them about their sex lives? That's pretty much what I expected. I could probably do Ray Comfort. Like, if there was a really convincing Ray Comfort face mask, I reckon I could get on the street and do his shtick. It's been word for word the same for decades, like, anybody could do this. I will say it is a really special, unique talent of certain televangelists and online preachers to go for decades and decades without seeming to learn a single thing or change in a single way. It's really quite impressive if you think about it.
So I'm not judging you, but you're not a good person. You're like the rest of us. You've just admitted you're a lying, thieving, blasphemous, fornicating adulterer at heart.
Now I'm not judging, you're just a terrible person, aren't you? You're a lying, thieving, fornicating, awful person. I'm just telling you that because I care about you, and I'm hoping you're just attractive enough to go viral on the internet. Apologies to PlanarWalk for the accent. From Ray's perspective, the problem with this street preaching is that if you don't subscribe to Living Water's specific interpretation of Christianity, this means nothing to you.
To face God on Judgment Day, if he judges you by the 10 Commandments, I've looked at 4 of them, you're going to be innocent or guilty.
Guilty. God judges you according to the 10 Commandments? How many of these do you think he's recorded on a Saturday?
So Jesus died for our sins, took our punishment so God could dismiss our case, so we could walk out of his courtroom, and then he rose from the dead and defeated your greatest enemy, death itself.
I apologise if this comes out dismissive, but the way that Ray Comfort explains the story of what Jesus did on the street, it kind of sounds like he's excitedly telling someone about the latest fantasy novel he read. And then Frodo agrees to leave the Shire to take the ring to Mordor. Hey man, if Jesus did all that for us, then we're good, right? I'd hate to waste Jesus' favour by having no sins for him to have forgiven.
I'm saying hard things, and it's only because I care about you and where you spend eternity.
Well, that was enlightening as always, Ray. Thanks very much.
Well, wasn't that bloody marvellous? So, before we go, I want to again remind you that you can see more of my clips by following the links below, and more of every person featured in this video by doing the same. They all did a fantastic job and deserve some love. And if you've come from one of those other channels and this is your first time here, hi, I hope you had fun. If you liked what you saw of me, I publish videos twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, in the exact same style, and have a hell of a back catalogue for you to sink your teeth into. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all out there.